Hello! Guys, I'm sorry it's taking me so long. I've been sick all week and I still kind of am, so this had to be delayed. But yes, today we are predicting the AFC Asian Cup, which will be happening in Qatar very soon. The first of many international tournaments to kick off in 2024. AFCON will also be dropping around the same time frame, so if you want to see a prediction video for that, make sure you drop an early like, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let me know if you have any disagreements in the comments below. Okay, now let's begin. Of course, Group A has the host Qatar, along with China, Tajikistan, and Lebanon. Qatar have been made fun of for their dreadful World Cup performance after being the second ever host nation to get knocked out of the group stage, but being the first host to go winless. However, this group is much more doable for them than the likes of Netherlands, Senegal, and Ecuador. I think that they're the favorites now to top it. You cannot forget that they are the defending champions right now of the AFC Asian Cup in particular. And yeah, they have lost their Spanish manager Felix Sanchez, who's gone to Ecuador. They replaced him with Carlos Queiroz, who's now gone as well after an uninspiring CONCACAF Gold Cup campaign for another Spanish manager, Marquez, to only be appointed a month ago. Might have been risky business, but Qatar still have a lot of quality that can make the difference on paper. Especially up top, Almoez Ali and Akram Afif can definitely cause damage against these other countries. Qatar recently have just simply had more experience in major international tournaments, so I do think that they have this group on lockdown. Now for the other teams, I think it's more of a toss-up. China should be favorites to get second place, but they have been a bit underwhelming. Ever since Jankovic took over, they have lost half of their matches. But despite not being a successful football nation that they sought out to be, they still have some quality that could have them edge the other two teams in this group. Their star attacker with experience, Lei Wu, should be making the difference. It's definitely not a certain pick, but to play it quote-unquote safe, I will put them at second place. Now we cannot forget that just like in the Euros and AFCON, we will be seeing most third-place teams advance to the knockouts. So Tajikistan or Lebanon still could very much pull through. You really can make an interesting case for both countries. I mean, Lebanon have never made it out of the group stage in the AFC Asian Cup, so this really could be their golden opportunity to make history. Based on many of their other results, they will probably try to keep it low scoring, and I really wouldn't be surprised if they could at least get a draw against the likes of China. However, Tajikistan should be an interesting case in this tournament as they are the only debutants. A lot of progress from this nation has been made over the last couple of years. Apart from getting obliterated to Uzbekistan in the CAF Nations Cup 5-1, they've overall had a decent 2023. I'm torn, but I think they have what it takes to at least have one impressive moment in this AFC Asian Cup tournament. Their first ever one, I will be putting them at third. Will I be saying that they are one of the third place teams to advance though? For now, I will say yes, as I don't think too many goals will be going past them. Group B now, we have Australia, Uzbekistan, India, and Syria. Poor India, this really is a tough group for them. As great a progress as they have been making under Stimats, I really do think there are two clear favorites for first and second, but I would not be upset if I'm wrong here. Australia, I am saying will get first place. They did wonders in the last World Cup. Many people ruled this side out after barely even qualifying for the tournament. Graham Arnold was facing a lot of criticism, and now the nation loves him. Beating Denmark in that fashion was incredible, and they put off a fantastic fight in the round of 16 against the champions Argentina. In 2023, they set up a lot of friendlies against tougher opponents where they did not always come out on top, but kept many matches competitive. I could really only see Uzbekistan halting them potentially, but no more. And yeah, I do think Uzbekistan will be finishing second. According to the current FIFA rankings, they're one of the best nations to never qualify for the World Cup, and they're looking particularly exciting this year. Their main man, unfortunately, Shomurodov, is injured at the moment, and although should be making the squad, I'm not entirely sure about this at the time of this recording, but he most likely will be missing the group stage. However, they still have a lot of quality up top and in the midfield as well. Faizullayev has been great in the Russian league, for example. 2023 in particular, they have been prone to conceding quite a lot of goals, but they always make up for it for scoring loads of goals and having a lot of creativity. Maybe they can top the group, I don't know, but second place seems like a safe pick. Now, can India get at least one result against Syria? That's all I see them really doing at most, unfortunately. They do have some matches where they look to be on a good track of form, and they also won 2 titles this year, the ASFF Championship and the Intercontinental Cup. But once they face a side that looks to be better than them on paper, they usually get outclassed, judging on their scorelines this year. I see them conceding quite a lot to Uzbekistan and definitely losing to Australia. But maybe a narrow scoreline against Syria can do the trick to send them to the knockouts. With their legend Sunil Chhetri, one of their highest international goal scorers of all time, maybe he can produce some magic. Cannot sleep on Syria though. They have some good options up top like Omar Kribin, racking up quite a lot of goals in the UAE Pro League. I'm still saying India have what it takes to get third, but somehow not enough to advance to the knockouts, maybe even a draw to Syria. Moving on to Group C with Iran, the UAE, Hong Kong, and Palestine. Now a very interesting group to look at here. I do think first and second place will be a fight between Iran and the UAE, and then third and fourth will be a fight between Palestine, and Hong Kong. Hong Kong look to be on the surface as the ones to get 4th place, as according to the current FIFA rankings, they are the worst team in this tournament. And they also haven't qualified for the AFC Asian Cup since 1968. But hey, they did just beat China on New Year's Day in a friendly. They won't be any pushovers for sure. They have been putting off decent fights all year round. However, this year they have already met one of their group members, Iran, where they did get destroyed 4-0. Looking at Palestine, they have never won a match in this tournament. They might lack the goal-scoring threat as well. Although they put up a good fight against Australia in the World Cup qualifiers recently, they haven't scored a single goal in their last 3 matches. If their forward Dabah is informed by the time the tournament rolls around, that could change. I'm torn about it. I know this is probably not a popular opinion, but I'm going to say Hong Kong get 3rd and Palestine 4th, and Hong Kong also advance to the knockouts. But yeah, I'm sorry, I think Iran and the UAE are way too strong for both of these teams. Iran being the World Cup participant, to be honest, quite a disappointing campaign given they were in a doable group, only beating Wales, also getting demolished by England. After some cycling of managers after Queiroz' departure, they now have a domestic boss, Galinoy, who has not lost a single match since taking charge, with some incredible scorelines along the way. Despite not being as electric compared to a year or two ago, both Taremi and Azmoun still possess a lot of experience and quality to this team, along with some underrated gems in the defense like Moharami, Hosseini. Meanwhile, for the UAE, they have appointed South Korea's World Cup manager Paulo Bento. He is making the side a lot more strong defensively. Apart from their first match of the year against Bahrain in 2023 alone, they have never conceded more than 1 goal. The goals are coming out as well, of course, with Ali Mabkout continuing to shine. In the UAE Pro League so far this year, he already has 12 direct goal contributions in 10 matches. They could cause trouble for Iran. They really could. I wouldn't be surprised if they shift this group a bit and they top it instead, but I'm still going to go for Iran getting 1st place, the UAE 2nd. Group D now, what a group with Japan, Iraq, Vietnam, and Indonesia. Indonesia, I'm sorry. I know you guys have an incredible fan base, but I will be putting you at 4th place. It's a very exciting side, don't get me wrong. One of the younger teams, maybe the youngest, correct me if I'm wrong, in this competition. They've also recruited a lot of dual nationals recently, so they could very much be more unpredictable than we think. Meaning, obviously, a lot's changed over the year. However, in the AFF Championship, they lost to their group member Vietnam in the semifinals. Not to mention another group member they faced more recently, Iraq, defeated them 5-1 in the World Cup qualifiers. Unfortunately, I do see them conceding a bit too much here against the favorites in this group, Japan and Iraq, and also losing head-to-head to Vietnam once again. And yeah, a lot of parallels here, as Vietnam have also recently faced Iraq in the World Cup qualifiers. They lost them too, but just 1-0. They're a side that does lack goal-scoring threats sometimes, and I don't see Japan or Iraq letting them down lightly either. So yeah, I'm saying that they can just get 3rd place, but they will be conceding loads of goals, which is why I'm going to be also saying that they are one of the teams to not advance to the knockouts that do finish in 3rd. Now moving on to my top 2, I'll have to put Iraq in 2nd. If this country were paired with a different top-seeded team, I would potentially put them at 1st, but Japan are just too good. They are my favorites to potentially win the tournament and to top this group for sure. Iraq have been building momentum though. 2 losses in 2023 against Russia and Colombia, but they will go into this tournament confident already after beating their opponents Indonesia and Vietnam in the World Cup qualifiers. Lots of exciting prospects on this team, like I said, but I cannot put them below Japan. A country that topped their difficult World Cup group, defeating both Spain and Germany, only getting knocked out on penalties to Croatia in the round of 16. Their only loss in 2023 was to Colombia. Other than that, very impressive scorelines going their way, including defeating Germany once 4-1, along with Peru and Canada finishing the same score. And their last 3 matches all finished 5-0. So many players on the rise, Kubo, Mitoma, the list goes on. I would be shocked if they don't manage to top this group. Group B now with South Korea, Malaysia, Jordan, and Bahrain. The only clear thing I see here is for South Korea to top this group. They are favorites for many in this tournament already, along with Japan. They've also had many one-sided scorelines going their way. They scored 18 goals and conceded 0 in their last 4 matches. You can also argue that they even have more big-name players than Japan. Min Jae-kim on Bayern Munich, Heung-min Son, Hwang Hee-chan. This is one of the strongest teams in this tournament, so no offense to the other teams in this group, they should storm by it with ease. Like I said though, for the rest though, I'm very unsure. Everything can be very back and forth for that 2nd place spot. No guarantees. Many of these teams show a lot of strengths and weaknesses. Bahrain seems to have a better defensive situation than the other countries, but might lack the goal-scoring threat, while Malaysia have the total opposite problem. I'd say on paper though, Jordan have by far the best standout player on their team amongst the other countries, Altamari, who plays in the French league. Now Malaysia might have one of the quote-unquote weaker sides on paper, but they really have been scoring the goals when they are in the mood. Very unpredictable team at the moment. Many people I see are putting them at 4th place, but I think they have what it takes to stir up this group. Although they're the only side in this group to never make it out of the AFC Asian Cup group stage, I do think this year it will be different and they do clinch 3rd place. For 2nd place, I'll pick Jordan. In all of their appearances in the AFC Asian Cup, they have only resulted to a group stage finish once, which means surprisingly, I'm picking 4th, Bahrain. Definitely a shock and won't be surprised if I'm wrong, but this is my upset, I guess, for the video, if you even want to call it one. I just think Malaysia and Jordan can put off good results against this team. Best of luck to every single one though. And finally, the last group we're looking at, although we still have the knockouts to go over. Group F consists of Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Kyrgyzstan, and Oman. Another quite bit of a toss-up. On paper, you might have your favorites, but we've seen them also slip throughout the year. For example, Kyrgyzstan, being one of the weaker teams in this group, did defeat Oman in 2023. But also earlier that year, they did lose to them in the same scoreline, but reverse. Meanwhile, Thailand have only just swapped managers right before the tournament. Not even a month ago, they appointed Ishii, and he might not be tactically set once the tournament begins. Both of these teams, Thailand and Kyrgyzstan, face a lot of unpredictability at the moment. And also, in the last AFC Asian Cup, they both finished in the round of 16. I have one of these teams finishing 3rd, and it's a really tough one to call, but whoever does advance to the knockouts for me. I will have Thailand to be the ones to just do so, and Kyrgyzstan finish 4th. Now for 1st and 2nd, I will have to choose the favorites on paper, Saudi Arabia, to top this group. Although we have seen them be prone to slipping recently. Yes, the side that defeated the World Cup champions in their first match haven't beaten any teams outside of Asia in their friendlies played in 2023. I think out of those pot 1 teams in this tournament, maybe apart from Qatar, they are looking to be one of the more uncertain ones. Even under Italian manager and Euro winner Mancini. He's experienced in these major tournaments as we've seen, but right now it doesn't seem like he's getting the best out of the quality this country possess. They still should top this group, but I'm not convinced it'll be in the most outlandish style. Oman 2nd, yeah, like I said, they're also being shown that they can slip as well, even against teams in their group like Kyrgyzstan. We'll see if staying loyal to their manager Ivankovic pays off. Very balanced squad all around, but they need to keep the composure. Now we move on to the knockout bracket, and here is what it would look like. Going to roll off this part a bit quicker, starting off with China versus the UAE. I definitely think the UAE has what it takes to win here. They have by far been looking like the more convincing side over the year. With a more promising manager, composed tactics, brilliantly defensively, they really should be beating China. Now for Japan versus Malaysia, congratulations to Malaysia if this comes true and you actually advance to the knockouts. But like I emphasized, Japan is one of the strongest teams in this tournament, and I definitely see them making it past in the round of 16. Australia versus Tajikistan would be cool to see the debutants continue to impress, but Australia are clear favorites. Saudi Arabia versus Jordan. Ooh, I would not be surprised if we see an upset roll around here, even on penalties. I do think under Mancini though, Saudi Arabia will just squeeze through even if they're put in a difficult position. Iran versus Thailand. Iran are the clear favorites there. They simply have more quality, more experience. They're going to make it to the quarterfinals. Korea versus Iraq. Definitely not the most comfortable round of 16 matchup for Korea, but they did have one of the easier groups. Iraq can cause problems, but Korea have so much individual brilliance, I still think they can convincingly win here. Qatar versus Hong Kong. Bravo Hong Kong if this comes true, but I do see Qatar advancing to the quarterfinals on their own home ground. Uzbekistan versus Oman. Maybe a slight toss-up, but Uzbekistan's main striker should be returning from injury. I'm not necessarily sure if that's true. Whether or not that's correct, I still think they will be scoring loads of goals and advancing over Oman. So now for the quarterfinals, we have the UAE versus Japan, Australia versus Saudi Arabia, Iran versus Korea, and Qatar versus Uzbekistan. These are definitely more of toss-ups now, starting off with the UAE versus Japan. Could we see Japan crumble under pressure here? I don't think so. Look, the UAE are an incredible side, and Paulo Bento, their manager, does have experience already managing South Korea, of course. Maybe he can tactically break down Japan, but I still think Japan have what it takes to push through to the semifinals. Australia versus Saudi Arabia now. The last time these sides faced each other in the World Cup qualifiers, Saudi Arabia got a narrow 1-0 victory against Australia. As I've stated though, Australia were very much looking like a mess at that time, and they very much have improved since. Remarkable momentum built by the Socceroos now. I definitely think they have what it takes this time around to defeat Saudi Arabia, even if they're up against Mancini. Iran versus Korea now. These countries were also in the same World Cup qualifier group last time around. Iran topped the group, but South Korea got the best of them head-to-head. Both in solid form right now, of course, but personally, I do think that Iran have weakened a bit on paper compared to the last World Cup run, and Korea continued to have their star boys shine, so I will say that Iran just falls short to South Korea. And then for Qatar versus Uzbekistan, wow, what a game that would be. Qatar is known to slip, but they are the hosts. Well, that didn't mean too much at the World Cup, did it? I could see an upset here if you want to even call it that. Uzbekistan are a solid side. Sure, they haven't had the trickiest road compared to some of the other countries, but I will say they have the dark horse run and make it to the AFC Asian Cup semifinals by knocking out Qatar. Semifinals now, Japan versus Australia. Yeah, I cannot continue to praise Japan enough. They've had an interesting road so far, not going to be the easiest, but they've already proven that momentum and quality is on their side for now, so I'm saying they make it to the final. For Korea versus Uzbekistan, sorry Uzbekistan, good run so far, but I do think Korea have what it takes to make it to the final. Now this is probably most people's projected final here, Japan versus South Korea. I think these two are the highest favorites to win the entire thing. Hard to pick one over the other when you really analyze everything. Would be incredible for South Korea as they haven't won the AFC Asian Cup since somewhere around the 60s. I think 1960 to be exact. But in my opinion, Japan will be the ones to win the AFC Asian Cup. What a tournament this would be regardless though. Hopefully more upsets happen than what I predict. But yeah, these are my final predictions. Once again, sorry for the delay, guys. This tournament is starting very, very soon. I usually try to upload these final prediction videos a bit earlier than this, but yeah, maybe you could tell from my voice, I'm still a bit sick. But I will continue to do prediction videos once the tournament progresses. So if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and let me know if you want to see my AFCON predictions as well. Don't forget to let me know your predictions in the comments below. Thank you all for making it to the end. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. La con noche.